Alright, so this is a tomato review for the Black Zebra tomato. Okay, so this tomato is a Solanum lycopersicum. It's a regular leaf tomato and it is indeterminate. So let's take a close look at what it looks like. Hopefully this shows up on the camera. Alright, and as you can see here, I can't pull it in too close because it goes blurry. So hopefully that's focusing. I'm not sure, but you can probably see it from here. So it's a bi-chamber tomato. Keep in mind there are two versions of the Black Zebra. One is a cherry, Black Zebra cherry tomato, and one is just simply the Black Zebra tomato, which is what this is. So there are two kinds of Black Zebras. As you can see, the inside of the tomato is got the dark green seeds. Very healthy looking tomato. It's a very dark tomato on the inside, and you can see this beautiful striping on the outside of it. It's just absolutely gorgeous and wonderful looking. Now this tomato has given me trouble for a few years, and it's some of it's my fault because every time I plant my tomatoes, if I plant them too close together, that's bad to begin with. But a lot of times I put tomatoes in the wrong areas where I plant them, and for some reason with this tomato I was always planting it like where it didn't get enough sunlight to really produce very good. So I kind of struggled with it for a few years, and again, that's most likely my fault. But I've done that also with other tomatoes, and they've grown right past the canopy of the other tomatoes that were growing. And this one seems like it's a very slow grower. It's reluctant to produce tomatoes. It's kind of on a hard side to grow. It's a little bit more of a challenge. So if you grow this tomato, my recommendation is to make sure that you grow it in full sunlight. Dedicate an area to your garden just for this tomato. Don't grow it near the other tomatoes. Don't grow it near other plants that are going to crowd it out, because it's very slow growing. It takes its time, and it's by the time this plant really gets going, the blight starts kicking in. So you're really going to want to give this one a little bit of attention. It's, again, not one of the easier tomatoes to grow, but let's do a bricks on it. And see what the brick says. It's almost 7. It's like 6 3/4, almost 7. So it's all right on the bricks. It could be a little higher for a tomato this size. So it's not exactly the highest in sweetness, but then again, we can't always go by that. So knock some of them seeds out. Let's give it a go. Well, right out the gate, texture-wise, it's pretty firm tomato. It's got a pretty firm wall on the inside. The skins were a little bit on the tough side, but again, that could be because of the heat. The flavor of it, it wasn't very sweet. I'm going to say 25 on the sweetness. Tangy side, I'm going to say like 30, 31, something like that. It's up there a little bit. But the flavor of it had kind of a funny, earthy flavor to it. It wasn't just very tomatoey flavor. It has like an earthy undertone to it. So let me take a bite off this one here. It's not bad. Like I say, it has a slight earthy tone to it, but it tastes pretty good. Has a nice tomato aftertaste to it. Kind of hangs around the back of your tongue. It's not very sweet, though I'm sure if you add more lime to your soil, you can bring that sweetness up a little bit. So you can't, just because I might say it's not a sweet tomato, you can bring that sweetness up simply by altering your soil's pH. So it could just be that the pH was just too low this year. I really need to bring up that pH. I'm trying to grow, the tomatoes grow better in a lower pH, but the flavor of the tomato, you're really not going to get that sweetness out of it unless you start getting upwards around 7 on pH. You really need to be up there for that sweetness. If you want them a little more tangy, keep them a little lower. So I think next year I will grow my tomatoes a little higher in pH. I think we're going to try to stick around the 7.1 range and try to get these tomato flavors sweet. But again, it's not a bad tomato. It's just the skin was very chewable. It's the only way I can describe the texture part of it. It's not like a soft, gushy type tomato. It was very chewy. Very, very chewy tomato, like a cherry tomato. It would be some of the firmer cherry tomatoes. The most interesting aspect of this tomato is the firmness in the rind. The rind, it's just a very firm tomato. It's very chewy. You can chew this thing up like a... It's not a soft tomato. These tomatoes have been ripening too for a while. It's a very chewy tomato. It's a nice effect. It's not chewy where it's in a bad sense. You have to chew this tomato up for a while. You're not just going to put it in your mouth and it's going to melt. Maybe if I let them sit around extra long and they really, really ripen, maybe they'll get soft at that point. But as of right now, it's a very chewy tomato. It has a great aftertaste. Tangy is pretty good. I like the tangy effect. Very low on the sweetness though. Not much sweetness in there at all. Though there is some in there. There is a balance a little bit. But other than that, I mean, I don't know what else to say about the tomato. Again, this is what it looks like. Hopefully this shows up without getting blurry. Try zooming you out. It's hard to do this with the light. Is just kind of awkward. There's no sun today. But it's a great tomato, guys. I definitely recommend growing this tomato. It's just like I said, I've had a little trouble with it. It could just be because I'm just not getting enough sunlight to it. There's so many trees around my property. It's really hard for me to get a full 12-hour day of sunlight. You know, it's just not getting it. So if you got an area of your yard where it gets like the full maximum amount of sunlight, keep it full sun, give it a lot of attention, grow it by itself, and you'll do pretty good with it. The flavor of the tomato is definitely interesting. I don't know what you could use it in, like as far as making sauces or anything with it. I guess you could. It's just like I said, it's a very firm, chewy tomato. It's just, it's nice. It's a nice effect. It's better than, I'm not really big on watery, gushy type tomatoes. They're great for sauce, but like eating raw, I like, you know, tomatoes that are firm and chewy. I like that effect on it. It's just nice to be able to chew your tomato rather than just put it in your mouth. It bursts open and melts and it's gone. So I like something I can chew a little bit. This is definitely a chewy type tomato. It's kind of like a mint julep tomato as far as that texture would go. Or even like some of the cherry tomatoes I did reviews on. They were kind of on the chewy side. It's kind of like that effect I got from this tomato. It's a very nice effect. I like it. But again, it's a difficult tomato to grow. So, all right, that's it. That's your tomato review for the Black Zebra. Like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one. Take care.